Okay, welcome to the WoW Tea Party episode 6. We've been away for a while, but now we're back, and it's probably going to be worse than the last ones. And, right, are you ready? Going to hit you with this week's tagline.
Yes, please.
Okay, so the WoW Tea Party, the only British podcast recorded on the third floor of a Manchester-based flat. Because it is.
Well, it's
unique.
Yeah, it makes us sound really scummy. Do you not think? We don't live in council flats. It's a nice flat.
I was going more for the uniqueness. You know, we're the only ones who do that. But then there's probably another.
There may be another.
Okay, so the format's going to be a bit different this week because we don't want to sort of repeat ourselves because there's no new content out there. So we're going to skip the Week in WoW feature because it's just more of the same, LFR, all that stuff. And we're going to move straight onto all the amazing news that there's been.
There's so much. There's too much to get through.
Quite a bit of news. So we'll be splitting it up as well. So on YouTube we'll have the different features split off separately. But for the hardcore podcast listeners, it's all in one here.
It is.
Yes. So, well, it's not called WoW News, is it? It's called...
Have you heard about that thing?
Exactly. So, first thing, the biggest thing, is the alpha release announcement.
Yeah.
So, tell us about what that involved, Proesie.
Isn't it basically just they've opened Warlords of Draenor up to a few select players, and that's normally like friends and family, and it seems like everybody's a bit shocked, which we are as well, because we sort of expected that to have already happened and they'd be announcing beta, but apparently it's at alpha.
Yeah, because usually the alpha thing sort of just goes unnoticed. It's just an internal thing, and then the thing we hear about is the beta because it gets released to other people. But instead they decided to do an alpha release, which involved opening it up to friends and family, and also releasing a lot of news, because they said they may as well release the news because it's not just going to be friends and family, it's going to be some extra ones like a few of the press and things like that as well. So I think mainly it was just to get some news out there because there was a blank period for about 2 weeks, which is part of the reason why we didn't do a podcast in that time, because nothing's going on. But now it was, a lot of people have been saying it's a massive info dump. It is a massive info dump, but quite a lot of that has already been dumped. So if we minus that stuff, what we're left with is the announcement of the actual class changes. So they've already said that there's going to be item squish and no stat squish. So they're reducing down and reducing button bloat. So they're taking away quite a lot of abilities, making it simpler, and making the stats simpler as well.
Yeah.
And so this is the actual implementation in the classes, so what's going to be removed and stuff like that. Also just some random little bits as well, like they're balancing the racial traits because some of them are just outdated, and they've announced some little bits about like professions. It's nothing worth even mentioning, it was so small, but they had it as a category so it looked big. But say in the professions bit, for example, they just have herbalism, you'll be able to level it in current level stuff. You won't have to go back to the start lands, and go to all the old places. You can just go to the new place and level it there.
Oh, that's all right, that actually.
Yeah, they've
not
already
a massive
done it.
Change.
I think they've already done it for like mining or some. I don't know if they've already done it because I've not used it. But compared to what we wanted for professions, the major change in professions that is yet to be announced is they're going to implement it into the garrisons, so you'll be able to level your profession through the garrison. And they said they wanted to find a way of making professions more interesting in general, but we're still waiting on that. So the main bit of information is the actual class changes.
Yeah.
It just annoys me a bit how they've marketed it as more of a this is how everything's going to be in Warlords of Draenor, when they've only really announced a bit more information.
Yeah, because we've already been drip-fed it for the past few weeks, haven't we? So it's just sort of just solidifying it and just saying, this is actually what is going to happen.
And putting it all in one place.
Yeah.
I suppose that helps.
Yeah.
So the main thing we'll talk about here is the actual class changes that are relevant to us. And also, like, to everyone, the tanking and healing changes is going to... We've got another, like, healing segment, like, specifically for healing.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, in this announcement, they've said that they've said some stuff about tanks. So what they're doing with tanks in relation to healers is they're removing the survivability cooldowns for tanks because they want that to be in the healer's hands.
Yeah.
That's why they said, you know, it'll make it back to what they originally intended, so just for healers. So what do you think about that?
It scares me a lot.
Oh yeah,
because I'm a healer, so I'm thinking, shit, I've got to heal everybody else, and like obviously you focus on the tank. And yeah, at the moment everybody is overhealing, but at the same time there's going to be a lot of changes. But I can imagine it's quite frustrating for the tanks as well, because that's like part of their gameplay and it's been taken away. So it's going to completely change how they do it, and it's just going to be more stressful for healers, I think.
Yeah, I mean, their idea is to make it more challenging. So for the top players in guilds, that means it makes it more challenging. For the casual players, it does make it stressful because they can't have that level of coordination with the others. And having tanks there creates a sort of balance. So I think it's something that suits the higher end players, but it's a bit more of an inconvenience for the more casual players.
I do agree that it is the healer's job, because it's the healer's job to get everybody's health up. It's not the individual players to sort of, you know, do that job for the healers. But, you know, it'd be nice if they did just have, like, you know, 1 or 2 spells if they absolutely needed it, because I do think it's going to put tanks off, because tanks and healers always get the blame. I don't care what anybody says, you know, DPS, but yeah.
A key question here is is it going to have an impact on the tank numbers, because it's accepted problem that we've not got enough tanks.
Yeah.
And so is this going to increase the amount of tanks or decrease the amount? Like, and what do you think there?
Well, I think for current tanks, it's going to completely change their gameplay, because they're used to obviously tanking, but also being able to heal themselves. So I think that quite a few tanks are going to be a bit miffed that these spells are going away. And to replace those, they're getting DPS spells, aren't they?
They're getting a DPS buff,
yeah.
So they'll be just below the DPS, yeah.
So it's going to change their gameplay completely. So I think for current tanks, I don't think they will be happy. So I think maybe they will go to their ult, or they'll just sort of bear it. But so I think that maybe there may be a drop for tanks that are currently, you know, tanking. But I think for DPS classes, they maybe want something different because they're sick of waiting in a queue.
Like switch over.
They may switch to tanking, because if tanking is now more about DPS, then it'll be an easier transition. And because there's so many DPS, maybe there will be more tanks eventually. But I'm not quite sure. I think it'd be easier transition for DPS to go to tank than how it has been in the past, or what it is currently.
I think in general, like the same, there'll be the increase in DPS will attract some, but the decrease in survivability will take some away, especially for those people who like to go to old content and solo old content. One of the best classes to do that was a Blood Death Knight, because they can heal as well as, you know, take a load of damage off.
Yeah. And
they can just survive forever. But that's... I haven't looked at Death Knight specifically, but with these changes, those survivability things would probably be taken away. So it evens out like that, so it'll attract new and take away old.
Yeah.
Probably. But on top of that, I actually think that it's going to decrease the amount of tanks overall, just because people don't like change.
Yeah.
You know, they're changing it up for tanks, people who have got used to their specs, and I think just because people don't like change, they'll either switch or quit.
It's such a shame though, because when you change things like that, I mean, it is a big part, you know, maybe change 1 spell or something, or possibly 2. But if you're completely changing the gameplay, which is what they're doing with tanks, your character sort of loses the identity that it's built up for however many, you know, months or years or whatever. So the way you react to that character now is different, and you may have to change specs and then sort of try, you know, start all over again.
Yeah.
And I think you're losing that identity and that connection with your character, because
the loyalty you build through having that identity. Yeah,
exactly. And you see that like I always see Proesie as the healer. I couldn't imagine her being DPS or anything different.
I think with these changes in general, the class changes, I think the overarching theme with us is that we're not really fans of it, but at the same time we're willing to have a go when the new expansion comes out.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, like, we're looking at sort of pieces of the entire puzzle, and it might fit together perfectly.
Yeah, and I hope it
use
does.
A nice little jigsaw analogy for you.
Because we need more tanks.
Well,
and if it worked, it'd be brilliant, you know.
Because, again, at the moment, it just seems like there's changes and there's subtractions, taking things away.
At the
but
moment,
not much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not much in the way of additions. And it's just not very attractive to look at when you're reading them. And so I'm hoping that it'll just fit together well, but I don't think it's a good move for adding loyalty.
Yeah.
A lot of it as well seems to be about getting new players, and I don't think that's a very good strategy for a game this old as well.
I don't think it's a good move.
Because, you know, simplifying the classes and things is great for new people to come pick it up. But if new people are going to come pick it up, there's so many problems in the way of new people getting into it. You know, like the level and experience and the cost of now buying a level 90 and stuff. I think their priority should just be adding features for loyal players, and naturally the player base is going to decline, you know, unless you have a massive amount of investments. The best thing you can do is just slow it until you can release something new, you know, like WoW 2, whatever.
Yeah.
But still having fun with it and things, but it's just a bit disappointing to see some of the changes they decide to make.
Well, I just hope that they get it right, you know, they get the balance right, because we were talking about the balance of the healers, and now with this tank thing coming in, so tanks are going to have, you know, less to no healing abilities, but the healer spells are being restricted as well, because they're getting more, they're not having instant casts anymore, so it's taking more time to cast a spell. They're getting some stuff, you know, removed altogether, so it just seems as though healing is going to be a big problem. Well, that's how I'm seeing it at the moment. I'm sort of panicking about it, but if they get the balance right, then it would be fine, and it, you know, it might actually be a good change. Because people again will find complicated ways of doing things and playing their class, you know, at optimal level. But I just hope that they just get the balance right.
I think the ideal situation is to get what they intended to do, which is make combat more about strategy and decision making.
Yeah.
So that's what they're going for with these, you know, removing instant casts and adding cast bars to things, and also like removing a lot of the movement abilities and things. But the danger is that they could make gameplay oversimplified, you know, so not much complexity for players that have been playing for a long time, that are hoping to add complexity to it.
Yeah. And
the other thing it could make it a lot more slow and clunky, and feel like the game it used to be, and not what it's evolved into, you know, a de-evolution of the game.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it doesn't end up as that clunky game, you know, where you don't you're not multitasking, you're thinking about one thing at a time, you know, where you're placed, and then sorting out your cast bar. It just seems like a bit of a slower style.
Yeah.
But again, we'll have to see. It might be fine.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, because we want to be a podcast that like generates interest in the game, because we are for Blizzard and things, but
we are very pro Blizzard, but
it's just really risky, and
I just hope they pull it off.
It's hard to see it as positive, but you know, they're the developers, and like, let's assume that they know best, and when it comes out, hopefully it'll be great, and it just looks bad.
And we'll give it a go.
Not just give it a go. I'll play days.
We just book in 2 weeks off and just.
I'll probably I'm gonna have like at least a few months game time on Warlords of Draenor.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But that was just one of the things in the.
But yeah, alpha. So we're still on alpha. So that's like the healing and tanking changes. Our specific classes. So I played mainly a mage. So without getting, you know, you could do a whole podcast on the mage changes, because there's quite a bit of stuff there. The main thing that affects me is they're removing alter time, the DPS element of it. So at the moment you can all you yeah, you get stacks of these cooldowns that you can fire off and do a load of damage, and it's cool because you have to play a bit strategically to build up those stacks.
Yeah.
And then you click the button, use them all, and then it goes back in time to the time that you had them again, and then you use them all again, which is cool and different mechanic.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah,
it's such a shame they're taking it away.
They're taking it away because they don't like the added DPS element. They added it as mainly, they wanted it as like a movement trick. So, say in PvP, like you pretending that you're escaping from a player by just jumping off a wall and getting out the way of him, and so he follows you and jumps off this like cliff, and then you go back in time and you're back on top, and then he's just fallen to his death, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That is so situational that it's like really hard to actually get into the game, so it's more done as the DPS thing.
Yeah, I can't imagine that happening much, to be honest.
Well, not that specific scenario. You know, like I don't know, you could just use it in boss battles sometimes and things. I think they just added it because it's a bit of a cool feature.
It's like a little gimmick.
But yeah, they don't like the DPS element. Taken out. I don't know why they don't like the DPS. I think they said it's just because it's not what they intended, but I don't really care if it's not
really
what they intended.
Though.
It's a mechanic, yeah. I don't know. I think they might need to do more surveys on this type of thing, because it's the same with yours, isn't it? They're taking away symbiosis.
Yeah,
aren't they?
That's a real shame. Like, I've not used it loads. I don't use it every time I go in, but there has been quite a few occasions where we've swapped, and you've got one of my healing spells and I've got one of yours, which is normally like, I think it's ice block or something.
Yeah.
So I can, if I'm taking too much damage, I can use that. And also when you have to heal a boss up, I'll be doing healing, but also you can have the odd healing spell in there as well, because we're using symbiosis. So it's a bit of a shame that they're taking that away, because it is a good spell, and it is useful. It has been useful on quite a few occasions. It's just a bit of a shame, really.
Yeah.
Do you know why they're doing it?
They didn't say. They just said they're taking away symbiosis, but they're gonna compensate for it by having survival instincts in there. It might be because it's a complex spell to design for, so it takes a lot of time to write the programming for it, because it is quite
for each class,
complex
isn't it?
in general. But yeah, I think the abilities they should be leaving alone are the little quirky ones because they want to take away the ones that people aren't using as much.
Yeah, I don't use it that much, but
yeah, but it's still, it adds variety to the game.
It does,
and it's a shame they're taking that one away. I think really before they do these changes to classes that players are very loyal to, they should really be collecting a bit of data about how people would feel if they took them away.
They might be, but they might just be doing it within like a close group.
Yeah.
But
like
they could
saying to someone like, we're taking this ability away. That's okay, isn't it?
Like, yes. Yeah, it's fine.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
They should have like
free subscription for a year if you say yes.
Is it Eve that has that panel of players?
Yeah, the player council.
Yeah, they should have something like that, definitely.
I know. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, they're taking away symbiosis.
Anyway, Blizzard are great.
Woohoo! And
positive.
Aren't they doing now? If you're in a damage spec as a druid, you don't have any healing spells.
I think that because I talked to you about this before the show and that, but I think it's just for mage. If you're a mage, you can't do fire spells.
Right. Okay.
If you're a frost mage, because it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
I didn't read.
Because you'd
I
melt.
don't think there was many changes like that in the druid ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are a lot of other changes there, but they're the main ones that we notice for our classes.
Yeah.
So yeah. And the last thing about the alpha that came out was more concerns over the release date, because the alpha was announced, what was it, last week or the week before?
Yeah.
So it's April now. People were expecting, so an alpha's come out in April. People were expecting
the game,
the beta for March
Yeah.
And that was the adjusted expectation, because before then, people thought the game was coming out in March.
Yeah.
So we just keep having to adjust our expectations quite
Eventually,
quite a lot
this game will come out.
to fit them in. Yeah. So, yeah, there was a bit of anger over that, but Celestalon sensed this anger, and he, in his interview, because he did an interview with Olivia Grace from WoW Insider recently, and in that interview he said that although it's at the alpha stage, it's kind of at the beta stage, because
Kind of.
the only reason why they did a beta so soon with Mr. Pandaria was because they'd sold this annual pass on the basis that people are allowed to get into the beta.
Yeah.
And so having so many people upgrades it from the alpha status to the beta early,
Yeah.
which I don't believe.
I smell bullshit.
Yeah, because if you're releasing a beta, like, it doesn't matter about the amount of people. You're releasing. It's at the stage where it's at, it's a beta.
Yeah. It's onto the second stage. Whereas this one, wasn't he saying that they were a lot further on than how we perceive an alpha? But at the same time, it's only just come out.
Yeah,
So surely it's not that far along.
They're at this. He gave the impression that they're at the same stage as they were with Mr. Pandaria, but it's just not true, because if they were at the same stage, then they wouldn't be announced, like, they wouldn't be inviting loads of people, but there would be people, like, in it, and also they'd be releasing content as well, because they've actually, last week someone was releasing some of the alpha footage, and they have that non-disclosure agreement. They gave a warning saying don't stream this on Twitch or put up videos, because it's not at the stage where you can do that yet. So that's another thing that says it's not at that stage yet.
Yeah.
Because it's quite unlike Blizzard as well, because they like to publicise what they've done, and they're quite open with the content that they've released. So it must be at a really early stage for them to not want people to see it yet.
Yeah. I mean, how long does an alpha usually last? Do we know?
No, I haven't got any idea.
Yeah, because I'm sure it'll last a couple more weeks before it gets
I mean,
into the next stage.
you can't release an alpha and then, like, say 3 weeks later, it shifts into the beta.
That's not
probably
a fact.
maybe 2 months.
Yeah, because you need to really test it, don't you?
That's just a guess, though. Yeah. So concerns about release date, which leads us to the next thing that was announced by Blizzard, to distract people about how crazily far off the release date is. The distraction that is Azeroth Choppers was announced.
Yep.
So
this week, wasn't it?
Yep, this week. Do you know anything about Azeroth Choppers?
Well, I've seen the trailer, and it's with Chris Metzen, and
is in it. And the art director as well.
And the art director. And isn't this an American program? This Chopper program?
American Choppers.
And it's basically a bunch of guys that build bikes. Is that right?
Yeah. I haven't seen it, but yeah,
I assume never heard of it. And well, I don't know whether it's just us, but Britain doesn't have that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether any of the other, the other European countries have it, but
yeah, they're doing a show, a mini web series, 8 episodes, that's based on an American show called American Choppers, where I know that it involves building motorbikes.
Yep.
So what they're going to do is, over the course of 8 episodes, they're going to build 2 bikes. One that looks like an Alliance bike, one that looks like a Horde bike. Chris Metzen's I think he's on the Alliance team, and then they've got the other developer on the Horde.
Yep.
And so they'll be directing the style and influencing how it's built.
Yep. And
then at the end of the series, people will vote about which one they want to be implemented in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be the Horde and Alliance bike, and just a big face-off about which one is going to win, and then only one of the factions will get the actual bike.
See, is it like, say if Horde were to win and they won the vote, would it just be Horde players that would be able to get that bike, or would Alliance be able to as well?
No, just be the Horde. Faction exclusive. Well, no, let's be fair. We're going to talk about, because otherwise, it's another thing that I feel quite strongly about.
Yeah.
But so we're going to try and be objective about it and actually list the positives that we will pull out of the nether.
Okay.
Right. So, what's this for? Like, why have they done this?
Yeah.
So, I think, just in general, I think there's just a bit of negative emotion around, because of the state of the game at the moment, like the release date, the fact that there was Dragon Soul, and in interviews they've said, oh, Dragon Soul, yeah, we know it was terrible, it was out for so long, never going to do that again. And then not only do they do that again, it gets worse. It's going to be a longer wait for this one. So to sort of alleviate that negative emotion, I think they've done this series, which is just something fun. It's some sort of video content to give the players something, in this downtime.
Yeah.
Also, it's not just fun for the people to watch. I think for the devs, I'm sure they're working like crazy hours. It's just something a bit different, because they'll have so much like negative feedback from the players. It's just something exciting and new, and I'm sure it's a popular show in America, so a lot of the people internally are going to be excited about creating something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
No, I do. Because, like you were saying, the devs, or just everybody in Blizzard really, I bet they're just sick of people like us moaning. And I can imagine that working with games all day and just working your arse off and then just getting people moaning at you is really disheartening. So to do something a little bit different and get on, I assume it's a big show in America, and get on like a big show, and it'd be really exciting, and it'd be something a little bit different, something refreshing, and also I think in doing this they're trying to get rid of the stigma that it's like a really geeky like game and stuff like that, and that it's a bit cooler, and even these county choppers are on board.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
County Choppers, is that a different program? I'm sure there's a County Choppers.
I don't know.
Or I'm making it up.
Yeah.
American Choppers. So I think it is a good idea, and I think that they're trying to. I think they are trying to distract us, but in a way, it's better than them not. You know what I mean? They're giving us. They're trying.
Other two things. So overarching, it's made for fun.
Yeah.
And what does that filter down into? One, it's a good distraction during the downtime, so that people aren't focusing on the fact that it's a lot longer away than we expected. So that's the reason why they do it for existing players. But I think the main thing that they're trying to... the main problem with getting new people into... Well, not the main problem, but a big problem is the stigma associated with World of Warcraft. That it's, Dungeons and Dragons, it's like Big Bang Theory geeks in their basement, playing board games and things. So they're trying to get... It is a good way to get away from that image, because it's basically like... a geeky kid hanging around with the cool kid on the playground suddenly becomes the cool kid.
Yeah, definitely.
Becomes like a chic geek, and I think that's what they're trying to do, just encourage wider participation through changing the brand association.
Yeah. And I think,
long words there.
Oh, I know, yeah. We're trying to be clever in this episode.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, I think it's good, because I think that they're trying to create a distraction, which is better than not. They're trying. It's fun. And also, it relieves this the stigma around the game as being geeky and things like that, which you get a lot of the time. Like, I sometimes at work I talk about World of Warcraft and nobody else plays it. sometimes they're a bit like, oh gosh, and I'm like, no, it's not what you think. So for it to be on a different show like that, it will sort of relieve some of the stigma around it, and people think, well, maybe that is actually cool, maybe I will give it a go, because I'm sure they're going to be trying to plug the free trial and stuff, so maybe it'll get new players in.
I think it will work as well. I mean, another example would be Skoda. Do you remember what happened with Skoda?
No.
Skoda, they were like one of the notoriously bad makes of car.
Yeah.
And then they went for a while just because they were so bad, unreliable, broke down like all the time, and then they were bought by BMW. And everyone was confused about this, like why would you buy Skoda? And one of the reasons was that it was dirt cheap because nobody wanted a Skoda. And then they released a ad campaign of like these cars like performing like really well, and then people had like go up to the badge, the Skoda badge, and try and like and be like completely puzzled and try and like rip it off, because it's not supposed to be there. And then Skoda started doing really well, and the cars were just changed, and they completely just changed the image associated with Skoda. The image was terrible, and then because BMW, this reliable car company, had bought it, it was seen as this really good brand all of a sudden.
My friend has a Skoda.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Did he buy it after the change from because they became cool, like BMW made him cool?
They're still not cool, but he's had 2 Skodas now. He's pretty loyal.
Cheap.
Yeah, they're cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's the same sort of scenario. Like, cool thing, geeky thing equals cool geeky thing.
Yeah. So it's good.
So they're the positives, and that'll get new players in.
Yeah.
But I think so. We'll have to move on to the negatives now. This will take quite a while.
Here we go.
Yeah. I think the main bad thing is it's a lot of effort, because I think this is mainly for new players, and it's a lot of effort to try and attract new players.
Yep.
Because you've got a lead developer, you got 2 lead developers.
Yep.
Who will be spending a lot of time doing a TV series when. Well, we'll move on to the resources argument in a bit, but I think the main bad thing is that their release the way it plays into their whole release date strategy or communication strategy. So it seems like it's a substitute for actual honest information.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It's like the sort of Gladiator type syndrome. So in Gladiator, you've seen Gladiator? The
film, not the program with topless men hitting each other.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, yes. I won't mention that. In Gladiator, the bad guy, he's got all the. He wants to take over. He wants it to be a dictatorship, but obviously the people aren't going to be too happy about that. So what does he do? What does he do?
He opens up all of the fighting.
Yeah, he does the big Colosseum, and he like promotes it, and he's there himself, like watching it, getting everybody
riled up and excited,
and getting everyone distracted from the fact that he's killing all the senators and making it into a dictatorship. Now, it's not quite as bad as that or drastic. Blizzard are doing.
They're not killing people yet.
But they are distracting people from the fact that. And this is the loyal fan base who was expecting a release of this game now.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a bit of a bad substitute.
Well, it's. I mean, it's good that they are, doing something, but the fact that it is a distraction, from the fact that they're not communicating with their loyal fan base. I mean, there's a lot of people, including ourselves, who've already bought the game. We have no idea what is happening with it, when it's going to come out, anything like that. And they're just not communicating. They're using this chopper program as they've basically paid this program to, just it's just like at a kid's party. You just pay the clown to run around with the kids. While you're fighting in the, while the parents are fighting in the kitchen. It's basically like that, isn't it? It's just like they're paying somebody else to look after the children.
Look at the clown.
Yeah, haha, everything's great,
Yeah.
We're
fine.
Yeah.
Nothing's wrong here.
I'm quite proud of that analogy, but it's basically that, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're just paying, this popular
Paying for a
TV
clown.
show. Yeah, they're paying for somebody just to distract the kids. Whilst everything's, going wrong in the background. Well, we don't know if anything's going wrong, but, they're not communicating with us. And all we want is a bit of honesty. Like we said like in a previous episode, if you're in a traffic jam and you're there for an hour and a half, you're getting annoyed. You just want to be home. You've had a long day at work.
Yeah, because you don't know what's going on. You're like, oh, it must be just some idiot who's like slowed down at the front for no reason.
It's some stupid things, gone wrong, and you're there for an hour and a half. You just want to get home. You've had a long day, and then you find out that somebody's had a crash and somebody's got hurt, and then you're like, oh my god, I feel awful now for feeling angry. I hope that person's all right. You don't mind spending that time waiting in the car.
Take as much time as you want.
Exactly.
That's what
don't
you
rush.
to,
just make sure everybody's okay. The situation's under control. But you only think that once you find out what the hell is happening. If you're in that queue and you don't know what's happening, you get annoyed. But as soon as you find out, you're completely understanding. You feel awful for feeling bad. And it's the same in this situation. I mean, we're here venting on a podcast.
Yeah.
If they told us what was happening and they hold their hands up and say, we're a little behind, these are the reasons, and we'd be like, we're your fan base, we've paid for the game, we pay every month.
Is this how you'd say it?
Yeah.
Don't worry.
It's worry. Okay. You take your time. Just let us know what's happening. Give us a few updates. You take your time. Don't worry. Because I'm sure they're running around like headless chickens, trying to get everything out, but we don't know. For all we know, all of them are at this American chopper thing, having a great time riding around on bikes.
I think what the main thing they're scared of is just telling, I think they think it'll be a bigger failure for them to actually tell people where they've gone wrong. I think they think that a distraction would be better than being honest about it. I think maybe though the problem, why they can't tell people is just for interactions with the actual shareholders.
Maybe
the people who actually own Blizzard. If they actually made an announcement saying, "Oh, we messed up," I think there would be some serious pressure from above, and people could get fired and things.
Well, I'm sure there's pressure from us and those at the moment. I think they're getting it from both ends, so to speak.
The end point there is that doing that removes some of the actual player loyalty that they could get. So it is a shame if something like that is happening, and I wouldn't know because we're not in that how that can be solved. So just so we're not getting thinking that they're not trying
doing it on
something
purpose.
Something like that could be happening as well.
But it's just such a shame because you can't pretend that everything's fine and dandy all the time, because it's not. There's always going to be things that go wrong. But at the end of the day, you need to admit, that something's gone wrong. These are the reasons. Because everybody, it's not necessary that they made a mistake. Maybe they've just timed it wrong, or they could have just told us something, somewhere down the line.
Oh, it's a mistake in our communications. We should have said, "I'm sorry, but we can't do that long. We can't have that regular patches before a release, or
because we're too busy.
There has to be that lull because there's just no way we can do it.
Yeah, but that's
and explain why. Why can't you do that?
But that's what we think this Azeroth Choppers is. But I think
distraction.
I think it is a good distraction, and I think that it's nice that they're trying. But I do think that they're just trying to get new players in because they're trying to remove this stigma. But I think that they're doing this because they know that they've upset current players. People probably are cancelling their subscription probably round about now. If not soon, they've already done it. Because no information's being released. So at the moment, they're really losing well, this is my theory anyway. They're losing subscribers. And the way this expansion has been dealt with so far, there's not going to be as many people buying this game as they did with Mists. So they need to sort of top up their subscribers. And the way they're doing this is by getting this chopper program in and just praying that some new people come in with this expansion, just to top it up, so that at the end of the day they can say, look, this is how many people we got in. But it's not just because of the expansion, it's because they've had to go on the TV and promote it some other way. Yeah. But that's just my theory.
Yeah. With the like acknowledging they've done something wrong, they have actually done that before with Titan. They said, the Project Titan, the game that they were developing.
It's been years,
it's been in development for maybe 4 years now, or 5.
Long time.
On that one, they did say, after it had been in development for 2-3 years, they said, look, we've made a big mistake with this game. It's not going in the direction we wanted it to. We're restarting, so everyone can expect that it's going to be a lot longer.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why they can't just be honest with us, because they've done it before and it's worked. Or maybe they're thinking 2 mistakes is too much. But yeah, next negative, because that's only one negative, and we've probably been talking about it for about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But the other one is the resources argument, and this is a popular argument that Blizzard have when players say anything like, why can't we have development for pet battles on mobiles? Why can't we have proper player housing where you can customize it?
Which I'd love.
Why can't we have another patch before release, so we're not doing Siege of Orgrimmar for 13 months or whatever? Because it will be, if it comes out in December or November, it's going to be about 13 months that we've not had any content.
Crazy.
But there's the pre-patch, which hopefully, but it's usually quite small, that pre-patch.
Yeah.
And their argument for not doing those things is that they don't have the resources.
Yep.
So with this, American Chopper's resources are definitely being spent. They were, I'm pretty sure, well, I'm sure they would have had to pay that Chopper's program quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
Which could be spent
in the millions.
Which could be spent on development teams.
Yep.
And more development of like maybe a pre-patch or whatever. Also, developers' time. You can price. If you were pricing time, these head developers get paid a lot.
Yeah.
And that a lot of the time is going to be spent, learning scripts, learning how to be on TV, and also actually being on the set and filming and things. And these aren't. They're not just sending
and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're not sending off the lower paid people to go into these things. They're getting the lead developers, and surely their time is the most precious.
Especially when it's getting, there's only a couple of months left, well, hopefully, until the game comes out. Surely their schedule is just going to be ridiculous. But no, they've just gone, no, we're not doing it. We're going to go film this TV program instead.
Yeah, it's just it's a bit confusing though when they say we don't have the resources. So whenever anyone says that argument, I just think someone should just say, well, you had enough resources to make American Choppers, so you have enough resources for mobile pet battles,
Yeah, exactly.
That should be like a standard response back to that question. So I'd just prefer them not to use the resources argument again.
It's another one of them. Bullshit.
Or I wish we had enough resources. No.
Yeah.
Don't say that, please.
Yeah. You can't use that as an excuse anymore.
Yeah.
We know you have them.
Yeah. If you don't have them, allocate them, because you allocated them to American Choppers.
Yeah.
So.
But that may be because, they sort of need a break. But at the same time, they're lead developers.
Yeah.
They should be with Blizzard doing a game that people have already paid for. The majority of people have paid for. Or what are they doing on TV? Just get off TV. Go make the game.
Well, they example that I'd like to now compare it to. There's a company called Treon, and people probably know them. The developers of Rift, the MMO that looked to be a serious threat to World of Warcraft maybe 2 years ago, but then WoW released another expansion, and
well, it was at one point, wasn't it? A load of players just quit WoW and went over to Rift when it came out.
It was doing really well, but I think the reason why WoW did better is that they had the barriers to entry, in that they had these resources that other games don't have, like the LFR tool.
Yeah.
That's something that takes a lot of time to develop and a lot of people.
The Dungeon Finder.
And because they've got it, it's a barrier to entry to other ones that they could only get to that point if they'd have been the most successful MMO for
a couple of years,
because then they'd have the funds to do that. So they got pushed back, but they're still going like with their niche projects. Their thing with Rift was World of Warcraft isn't dynamic enough. Not enough stuff happens spontaneously. So in Rift you have these things that open up and shoot things into the world, randomly, and you have to all come together and beat them, everyone in the zone.
Yeah.
Which was a brilliant idea.
You all party up and get it down.
Yeah, and WoW was only just sort of caught up with that in
Timeless
the
Isle.
Timeless Isle stuff.
Yeah.
So, and that's 3 years later.
Yeah.
And they're developing a new game called it's like a Minecraft clone. What's it? Trove? It's called.
Yeah, it looks really good. That.
And it's like a natural evolution of Minecraft. But their thing, Treon, as a whole, their thing is they develop based on player feedback. So if it's something the players want, they watch the forums and they make it a priority. Blizzard seem to have a different stance, where they say, okay, we're going to develop what we want because we're the developers, and we know best, which is true to a certain extent. And then if there's time, we'll fit in one of those requests that you had.
Yeah.
So say their version of that was, say, with garrisons. People want player housing, and what's widely accepted to be player housing is a customizable zone that you can show off to other people, and it can be your place. So they said, okay, we'll do that, but it's going to be our version of it.
Yeah, we're going to restrict it, basically.
Which is just an RTS game, and it's not player housing.
It's
at all.
not.
No,
there's nothing really individual about it, I don't think.
Yeah. It's garrisons, and it's not player housing. It's you can make resource generators, and then the only customization there is you can choose where you place each thing, and then so people are. It's a shame because they've confused people, because they've said it's player housing. People are saying, oh well, what can we
put it where we want in the world?
We can change the colour, can't we?
Yeah.
And we can show off our trophies and place them where we want, and they're going, oh well, I mean, we'll work on it. It's something we could do in the future.
Yeah, but at the moment you get 4 walls and a roof, and you get to place that within your designated area wherever you want. It's like, oh.
So I just wish they'd take a bit of a lesson from Treon, who get they listen to, they make it more of a priority, the players' feedback. And also we look at EVE Online as well, who
have their own council, don't they?
They've got a player council, and they can submit suggestions, and they I'm pretty sure they have a meeting, like at their version of BlizzCon.
Yeah.
I think it's EVE FanFest, I can't remember. But at that, they go in a big meeting room and talk together about what they think should be, a priority in the future.
Well, that's the difference, I think, with some of these, big gaming companies or game developers. They see it as a collaboration between them and the players, which is how it should be, I think, because it's the players who are financially supporting the developers.
Well, they said
the developers are giving the players the game that they want.
At BlizzCon, it came up. There was one of the fans didn't really help because he sort of riled up the developers a bit, but he said, World of Warcraft is as much your game as it is ours.
Exactly.
Because I think the fan had been agitated because they kept calling stuff within the game, like the buildings they've made, assets.
Yeah, products.
And and they referred to World of Warcraft as a product.
They kept
and
saying
not a game.
product.
And so he came and said, yeah, we see it as much yours as it is ours. And I think that's right, because the reason why the game's still around is because the funds that come from the players, and so there has to be at least some reciprocation between, the developers and the players. And I just think it's a bit too far skewed to the developers at the moment in WoW.
I've completely forgotten what our point was.
Yeah, so the original point was we've gone quite a long way from the Azeroth choppers. Azeroth choppers. No, because it links back, because it's not a feature that was requested or it was a priority from players.
Oh, it's completely not a priority. It's just so...
Exactly.
I mean, it wasn't even on the list, was it?
No. It was...
it wasn't even...
It could have been, if you were making a list, it would come into the thousands, if you were going from 1 to a few thousand, it'd be there somewhere.
To be honest, it wouldn't even be on my list.
No.
Not because, it's not fun. I admit it's going to be fun and people are going to love it, but I won't watch it. Just because...
Oh, well, I'll definitely watch it. Just because I want to support, what they're doing and things, and I just think they've done something.
They've tried.
Yeah,
I mean,
let's have a go.
The only reason I'd watch it is because it's World of Warcraft. But other than that, personally, I'm not interested in motorbikes. It doesn't. If it was cushions, and they were designing different cushions for Alliance and Horde, I'd be happy with. I'd watch that.
Well, that's why it comes into the last point. Like, someone on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, but they said, "Oh, great, another feature inspired by midlife crisis and masculine urges." And so and I thought, that's sort of right, because it's I've written down it's three things really. It's egocentric, which means that it's the developers. They've gone in a meeting room, and then one of them just goes, "Oh, I've had the best idea. Let's do World of Warcraft and American choppers."
Yeah, I like bikes.
Because we can.
Yeah.
Because we can, yeah. And it's probably, a meeting room full of guys who love the same program, and they thought, let's do it. We got the opportunity. Maybe one of them knows someone from that.
Yeah.
That program, and they've got links there. But the problem with making a decision like that is you haven't considered that people outside of America it's not really suited to them, is it?
Because it's American choppers.
Yeah. Well, it's just not a program that is really known outside.
Yeah, we've never seen it.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it. Yeah. Maybe other countries are different, but I'm pretty sure quite a lot of them don't really know about it.
I mean, we have our own sort of things, don't we? We have Scrap Heap Challenge and things like that. It's pretty much...
There's a massive following for WoW. The servers, not the American servers, it's one lot of servers. Then you've got the Europe servers, and then you've got, I don't know what the other one's called, it's like Oceanic or something, which is Australia and stuff like that. And America's just one lot. Why choose to make this program that's focused on that?
Yeah, there's a lot of other people.
And that's not to say, the Americans shouldn't get that. It's just that I don't know why you'd focus so narrowly.
Yeah, because they're egocentric, like you said.
Yeah, egocentric, which also leads to... Someone said, it's sexist. I don't think it's sexist. It's more just, here
comes another long word.
Who do you like the technical term? Androcentric. So, because they're males, it's androcentric means too focused on your own gender. And I can see, without being too sexist, I can't see that many girls being interested in motorbikes.
I'm a girl.
You agree?
I am a girl.
I mean,
and I don't like bikes.
To be unsexist, I completely appreciate that girls could get into motorbikes.
Yeah,
but I
there's
just
no
don't
reason
think
why
there's
not.
that much appeal for World of Warcraft motorbike program from girls.
I have friends, girls and boys.
Oh, well done.
I do.
I don't believe you.
There's only one girl that I know who likes motorbikes, but there's quite a few guys that do. And that may just be my friendship group. But speaking as a female, I have always been a female, that...
Since you were born.
Since I was born. That I'm not that bothered about it. But
Yeah.
I'm sure there are women that are. But I'd pretty much hedge my bets and say that it would be, you know, the motorbike fans, the majority of them are men. And I think people saying sexist to me is you're doing something on purpose. You're insulting, you know, either male or female on purpose. You know exactly what you're doing. Whereas I think they've...
or even if not on purpose, just the way you are is hurtful towards the other.
Yeah.
There's some amount of intention there.
Exactly, intention, that is the word.
Yeah.
And I don't think they went in a boardroom and said, right, I know this is going to piss a load of girls off, but I really like bikes, and guys like bikes. The majority of people who play WoW are guys. Let's do it for bikes. Forget about the women. Let's just have a bike show. Let's just, you know, do something like that. They haven't done that.
Yeah, they've not done that, yeah.
They are nice people, I'm sure. They would never do that.
They haven't gone into a room and gone, you know what would piss women off? If we did a whole motorbike promotion.
Exactly.
Let's do that. And they were like, yeah.
They've actually got one of them big boards with the paper, and they've gone, right, let's list like 10 things that would really piss women off.
Yeah, and let's do that.
And let's narrow it down.
Because this is a boys' club.
And really
no
insult
girls
them.
allowed.
So people can't say that they're being sexist for this. There are women out there who will like bikes and will really enjoy the show. And I'm sure there are families that sit around and watch the show. I've never seen it, but I'm sure, you know, some people will. So I don't think that they're sexist, but I do think that a lot of them probably will like the show, and that's what's led it. Or maybe they like you were saying before, weren't you, that maybe they have connections with the people who run the show or are on the show. Maybe that's why they've done it. So
it's easier to do it, yeah.
But I wouldn't say that they're sexist at all.
No.
But I do think that they're fans, and that's why they've done it. So they are being egocentric, like you said.
Yeah. But yeah, and then I think the alternative, because I always think if you're giving a criticism, you should give what would be better, because criticising without feedback is pointless.
Yeah.
So I just think anything that would have been a bit more gender neutral. It wouldn't have to be like a TV series, although that would help the image. And it is quite hard to think of another popular TV series that would be affordable to get on board and also crazy popular.
We couldn't think of any, could we, really?
I know that Storage Hunters is like universally popular.
God.
And
well,
it's like the cheapest show to make.
Well, it's only
so
come over this year,
WoW?
hasn't it? Like, it's only just started to become popular here
but
in the UK.
Everyone loves it,
but it's amazing. It's so dramatic.
Yeah, but how could you do that in WoW? I don't know, but yeah, they can. I've given them a bit. I've given them a clue. They can figure the rest out.
Something to do with auctioning, how much money can Horde
get
get, and how much money can Alliance get, or something.
Yeah, use the same money and just spend it on a promotion that is broad.
Yeah.
You know, appeals to the masses.
Yeah.
More than the niche that they've marketed to.
Yeah.
So anyway, talking about sexism and stuff.
Yep.
Let's move on to our next topic, which is the April Fool's thing.
Yes.
Now, this was a bit ago, but we're
still in April, so
wanted to mention it.
Yeah,
still counts. April Fools. They didn't do one last year because they said they hadn't the resources to spare.
Oh, there's another
the resources
again.
Oh yeah, Azeroth choppers.
Oh yeah, we haven't got
enough
resources
for Azeroth choppers.
Yeah.
Every time they say that. Oh, that's such. It feels good. It feels good to say that. You know, like every time they give this not enough resources, we have something.
Yeah.
A good reply.
Yeah.
Yeah. so it wasn't one last year, but the year before, and like, every year they'd always sort of done something. I don't know if you remember, but in Cataclysm, they said they were going to implement this new deep dark technology, where they were going to release a series of dungeons that were done completely in the dark, and mobs and bosses would just spring out of you at you.
Spring out of you? Oh my god, that would be painful.
Spring at you from the dark, and you wouldn't be able to do any planning or anything. And yeah, implementing deep dark technology.
But we don't do any planning when we go in now, so
yeah.
But yeah, no, I do remember that.
So all of these things, like, it's like, I know April Fool's jokes aren't supposed to be like crazy funny.
Well, they are, but they're mainly supposed to catch you off guard and
fool you.
Yeah.
So like, this one was good, but it wasn't like
it cracked a grin.
Yes, I grinned at this year's, but yeah, I always feel a bit underwhelmed by them. So the main one was Outcasts of. They announced the new game Outcasts of Azeroth, which is like the counterpart to Heroes of the Storm. So
I really enjoyed this one, actually.
It's the same as Heroes of the Storm, so it's a MOBA game, where you can only use the crap characters that nobody wants to see.
Yeah.
Like a Murloc, you can be a Murloc.
Woohoo!
That was
I
one of them.
hate Murlocs so much. Oh my god. They're like the most irritating thing in WoW.
Do an impression.
Well, I don't have sound on my WoW. I always switch it off. So is it? What do they sound like? Like woo?
What do you think? Woo! No,
like,
they go like. Oh.
Oh yeah.
That was quite good, actually.
It just sounds like choking.
I'm quite proud of myself. So yeah, it was that, and they did a little trailer for that, which was like an old sort of retro Street Fighter trailer.
I haven't seen
taking
it.
a mick about the trailers, and it was pretty good. And the main prank was they announced a new Draenei model, the female Draenei, which was pretty funny because people joke about Draenei's being the goat race, the space goats.
What? Why is that? Do you know why it is?
Just the hooves.
Oh,
and
it's
then
just that.
they've got like those things coming down from their necks, I think.
Do goats have that?
And the horns as well.
Like a little beard thing.
Yeah, the sort of thin beard,
Yeah.
and then the horns. Yeah, so the goat race, space goats, and they said that. So they did the updated character model, and it looked very much like a goat. They put hair on the legs.
Oh yeah, they changed the leg shape,
extended
didn't they?
the muzzle.
That was weird.
Which people I think confused, or it might have been. They called it the derp face because it's supposed to look like, a weird derp face. But I think it was supposed to be just made to look like a goat.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought that was pretty funny, actually.
I thought it was funny.
Until this WoW Insider article came up.
Yes.
Yes. Do you know about that article?
Only from what you've told me.
Go on.
I haven't actually read it.
No.
It was a female writer
Yes.
that had wrote an article saying that this Draenei character model, this April Fool's, was sexist.
Yes. And it was a joke on people's women's body image, and so
because we all look like goats.
It was poking fun. Well, she didn't realise. I don't think she realised that it was supposed to look like a goat. I think they made it like slightly wider. I don't think that was like intentional. I don't think they were
I think
trying
that's
to make
just
it
the
look
shape
fat.
of the legs and stuff.
Yeah, and they made it uglier because obviously it looks uglier because
Like
it's
a
a goat.
goat, yeah.
And she was saying, "Oh, they're poking fun at women's body image and their insecurity about women's body image." And then it was quite a long article saying that Blizzard have a history of this, and this is probably the worst one. Which, I mean, I don't comment often, but I felt obligated to intervene.
Yes.
In this case,
As a feminist yourself.
Yeah.
Because guys can be feminists as well.
Yeah. It's called masculofeminism.
Is it?
No.
Oh.
I just made that up.
April Fools.
Yeah. So what they ended up doing, they wrote that article, and then I ended up commenting, saying, "Oh, it's not sexist." And the reason I don't think it was a sexist thing to do at all is because it was goatist, if anything.
I was gonna say that. You completely stole that from me.
Yeah,
it's more
poking
goatist than sexist.
At goats' body image.
It is completely poking fun at goats. We should actually feel bad for goats.
Yeah, because
not for women.
Goat body image is fine. So there's going to be loads of insecure
goats around.
WoW players now.
Yeah, there's going to be loads of insecure goats, but they can't write articles, so they're at a real disadvantage here. Feel sorry for them.
Yeah, so I think she just missed the point of what they were trying to do, and it was a shame as well because April Fool's time for joking around and like in a time when everyone's complaining makes things a bit more light-hearted, and I just feel like she brought it back down. And also these developers, they work crazy hours. If you see, like we've talked about this before, but recently I've seen Celestial on, the Twitter guy, and there was another one, and they both work until 2 in the morning and stuff on these blogs to release to the players.
Yeah, it's crazy
to get it out for the players. And for someone to come along and just call you sexist after all that, oh god.
You know what? They are probably the nicest guys ever, and treat women with complete respect.
Yeah, and it's coming back to that thing. It's not sexism. It's that other word. They're at best they can be described as androcentric, which is concentrated on their own gender. And so
they are men really, and they think like men.
Yeah, and so they can design for men.
Yeah. Which is understandable. If I was a man, I'd design as a man. I wouldn't design as anything else because I'd be a man.
But in this case, I don't think it was even, it's not sexist, and I don't think it was even androcentric. It was goatist.
Yes.
But in the past, I think where this article's come from, what's motivated her to feel so strongly about it is because Blizzard have a history of implementing features that are more centred on guys and catering for the male audience.
Yeah.
So like, what is there? There's the common argument, there's no strong female characters.
Yeah.
Or not enough.
Yeah.
What else? Can you think of
clothing?
Oh, the just armour models.
Pretty clothes, please.
Yeah.
I'd love some nice dresses.
You could
and
say
high heels. Give me some high heels.
You could say that clothing is too girly, but then hardcore feminists would be like, well, there is no girly, there's only human.
Yeah.
It's difficult, but
it's
anyway,
a difficult topic, really.
Yeah. So I think it's come from the emotion that she's felt about not having enough stuff that's stereotypically girly in the game. And also just general attitudes towards sexism. She's maybe encountered someone who's really sexist, and then it's got her riled up, and then she's projected onto that article her feelings. It's like transference.
Because by the sound of it, it wasn't an objective. I've not read it, but just from the sounds of it, it sounds as though it wasn't objective. It wasn't laid out in an objective way, and it was quite emotional.
Yeah,
and it was basically pointing a finger and saying, "You are sexists. You are sexist. Yeah. Be nicer to women."
Yeah.
Even though they weren't being horrible to women anyway.
Yeah. So again, don't want to offer like criticism without like a solution. So rather than writing an article like this, that's direction is it's a bit mistaken in what it's criticising. What does need to be changed is that like the WoW character models and things. But the problem is, as an argument for Blizzard, the majority of the audience is still male.
Yeah. So you can understand that there's going to be more things in there that are directed towards men, because the majority of the developers are going to be male. The majority of people who play it are male. They should have it equal, no matter who's playing it. I think that's my opinion. I would like to see more, female things in there, but I'm not going to say that they're sexist for that, just because. It's a bit of a shame that there isn't more females in Blizzard to to sort of direct that and have that happen. They just don't know any better. It's not sexist. I think this whole topic just gets a bit confused.
It is, yeah.
I think feminism, the whole word, gets a bit confused.
Yeah, I don't think they would. Yeah, we can't go into in-depth discussion of feminism, but I think the main thing they do is they're not thinking about gender when they're developing, which is probably a anti-sexist thing, because they're just thinking what would be good for people.
Yeah.
And they're as guys, they know themselves better than they know girls, so that's why they've done
this
like guys in the past. But there has been quite an outcry from the women, which at the moment are the minority of players, that there isn't many features that are traditionally girly.
Yeah.
So there are a lot that are traditionally manly. So yeah, they could do with actively showing a bit, that they can do that as well. And even if they don't understand, because there's been that demand, they should start trying, or at least do a blog about how they're working towards, in putting these sort of girly features in as well.
Yeah.
Or female orientated elements.
Yeah. Just more stuff like syndicating for me.
But the way to go about that, asking for these features, because they aren't obligated, they can make what they want because they're a private company. That's the nature of it. What happens is, if they want to make money, they'll design what they want, and if people like it, they'll buy it. If people are annoyed by it, they don't have to buy it.
Yeah. If those people who think it's sexist or insulted or anything like that, they don't have to play the game.
Yeah, and can go on to something else. But at the same time, it is a shame because these people are playing it, and there is the potential there for it to suit them a lot more. So it's a compromise between the two, and the way to get them to implement these features that you want,
persuade them to implement them,
can't be to say you have to do this, because they don't have to do anything. But what we can do is show the demand, make it visible that they can make more money if they do it.
Yeah.
And so that's through, they could do a petition, an objective petition that says, this is what the state of the game is, and so we're unhappy with this, and this is what we can do to solve it, and this is how you can make more money from doing that.
Yeah.
And also articles that are more, if you just do like she did, an article but more objective article, and that raises awareness of the issue, and then that increases demand for the thing that they want in the end. So that's my idea for how they can, if people want change, and I would sign the petition as well.
Yeah, and I think quite a few men would, but I think it angers people. Like I've said before, I'm a woman, always have been, but I was quite angry at that article because she was basically, well, like I've said, I've not actually read it, but from the comments and from hearing about it, it was as though she was, lumping us all together, saying, come on women, look what they've done, they've made us into a goat. It's like, no, that is not what they have done. I don't back that at all. Be objective, you can't put emotion into it. And to be honest, I'm bloody surprised they actually posted that. There must have been an editor looking at that and choosing to put it up or not.
In a lot of the comments they were saying that.
Why did that even go up? Because I'm sure there was lots of comments saying, why the hell is this on the internet?
Well, without getting into it too much, I think the problem is a lot of people are scared of not putting it up. Like if he hadn't put it up, and it's an article about like oppression of women. What does that say? Yeah. I'm not going to put up an article about women's rights.
It's just a shame that it was so
put it up.
Emotional.
Yeah. It's just a difficult one. But the moral of the story: hate won't help. when it comes to sexism.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even though I've just ranted.
Remember this. Write this down. Yeah. And Blizzard, stop being goatists.
Yeah. Leave the goats alone.
Yeah.
They're nice. There's a lot of them around here. We like
they
goats.
Are a very much minority of the player base.
They are.
But they're still
and they
there.
can't defend themselves.
Yeah, because their hooves touch multiple keys when typing.
Unless they have a massive keyboard.
A goat keyboard. Anyway, we're going off topic. Right, so last topic, the character models, the actual real ones, not the April Fool ones.
Yeah.
The Tauren one and the Draenei model, the female Draenei model has been released.
Yep, the real one.
What do you think of them?
I think the Tauren, it doesn't look like a massive change, but it is, I think. It's a lot smoother. It's less clunky.
It's subtle, isn't it?
Yeah, I like the way that they've done it subtly. Yeah, it just looks a lot better. It looks a lot smoother. It's less harsh.
Yeah.
And also the animations are amazing. Completely different. Cool. Like you can actually see like the jaw, the hair's moving, the beard's moving. Everything just looks smooth and realistic. And they haven't gone over the top.
In the new art blog, they showed the sort of a bit of the development process and the tools they used to like move and make them.
Yeah.
And it was like
it's impressive.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy to make these things. It looks
really
like
complicated.
There's a lot of like complex stuff that they've not just got like a paintbrush or whatever and then they just paint it on. And yeah, you can see why it takes so much development time.
Yeah, definitely.
And why they've had to not do it until now. But yeah, I think it looks really good. And also, the main thing I think with it is that it looks more WoW art style now. That sort of cartoony look, whereas before it was, I think they didn't really know the direction of the like branding in the game and stuff.
Yeah.
It's definitely more consistent with that, their current art style.
Yeah.
Which I think is like, it's getting more, it's getting more consistent.
Yeah, it is.
And it's definitely found more of a direction than it used to have.
Yeah, it's found its identity.
Indeed.
But the female Draenei, again, it didn't look like a massive difference, even less so than the Tauren. But you can tell it's a lot softer in the face. It's nice and subtle. But like we were discussing before, they're pretty much up to date anyway. They're more up to date than the female human, where there's a massive change. They didn't have to do that much more to them, but they do look just a lot smoother.
They came out a bit later. Like I think there was a bit of a rapid technology and advancement in technology between vanilla WoW and Burning Crusade. Yeah. And so they're developed a lot more.
Yeah. But yeah, I really like it. And I just like that they're realistic. Just for the female characters mainly. They're realistic characters. They're not skinny, massive boobs, and stuff like that. They're just realistic. They're quite muscular. You can associate with them a lot more than characters in other games.
It's a key thing they've said, like that they're trying to make them look more like adventurers rather than, someone
models.
who's just got dolled up and, gone out fighting monsters. It doesn't make sense. So
like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, putting loads of makeup on, massive high heels, but gonna go and kick some ass. It's just not realistic.
So they've made the muscles. They're sort of like bigger muscles in like the thighs and whatever, and people like that.
Yeah.
So
I want
it's
to
more
look like
realistic.
That.
So, but that brings us on to the key topic here. Covered a lot of key topics today.
We have.
But yes, do the new character models matter? Like, do they make a difference to the game? What do you think?
I definitely think they do. I mean, I think it's like when we were talking about class changes, and they're taking away stuff and they're adding different things in there. And also like with tanking, they're taking away healing and putting DPS in its place. and the way your character looks as well, it all links, and it changes how you play with your character, even the way they look. You know, I don't know, it just does. It just it's your character. You've spent days and days and days, you know, sometimes months, years, whatever, playing this character, and to see them transform into something better, because all of the ones that have come out so far, I think, are just much better. Is really nice to see, and you'd be happy because you feel like the character's grown, you know, with the game, and grown sort of with you. And it'd be nice to see it sort of carrying on, you know, in maybe a couple of years' time they'll upgrade them even more and it'll keep going.
Hopefully.
I hope so. I think, it's natural, and hopefully they will just keep going with it, because it's progression, isn't it? And the characters are progressing, and the look just... I don't know whether it's just because of me, because I just like pretty things, but but I think it makes a big change to just gameplay, because you'll be able to relate to your character more because they look more realistic, and you can associate more with them, and that's just my opinion.
Yes, well, it is a very valid opinion.
Well, I don't even know if I had an opinion there, apart from
so
yes.
It's mainly just yes, and like, because you identify with the character so much, it matters a lot to existing players, you know, that this is done and they're not just neglected. Yeah,
I think it's more just because it's your character. It's just something that you've put so much into, and you do learn to care for them. You care about your characters.
Well, you do with
I
Proesie.
do. I love Proesie so much. It's you know, like if you have a cat or something, you know, you absolutely adore them, even though a cat's a living thing, and you know, you do actually, you know, live with them and stuff. But you know,
they do start to build up a character, like
they do.
Their own identity.
They have their own identity.
I did this with that character. I did this and stuff.
You've got memories with that character,
and so that ties into their looks. Like they have to feel. It adds to the feeling of like realness, experiences, and visuals.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. Well, I'm going to lay some psychology poo on you.
Oh, great.
Yeah?
Yeah, go for it.
Right, it's a psychological dump.
Oh, yeah. There's been a lot of dumps today.
Yeah. Info dump, psychological dumps. Anyway, so I think there's two things, like how they make a difference consciously and unconsciously, right? And that ties into the different players that are playing. So... it's important for new players, because when you come into a game, the first thing you look at is your character, isn't it?
Yep.
Character creation screen.
Yep.
You don't want to be looking at polygons, because you just can. Nobody plays old games.
But she's made out of triangles, or he's made out of triangles.
Yeah, or if they do play old games, you in your mind you think, well, straight away you're thinking, well, you've got a lot to prove if I'm going to keep playing you.
Yeah.
You know, if the graphics are like this.
Yeah.
So straight away you've made a difference to new subscribers coming in.
Yeah.
Because it's got to look good, and it's got to feel like you're playing a modern game. So
definitely, because there's a massive difference the past couple of years with games like Xbox One, PlayStation 4 and stuff. And they've
got to keep up to date with that, and also making the, like, say, the Tauren more consistent with the branding, you know, having that cartoonish style means that they don't have to necessarily keep up with the state-of-the-art visual graphics. They just have to have their own niche and their own style. Yeah, it just needs to be less clunky. That's all it is. Yeah, and so it's helped them do that. But for existing players, that's, you know, when a new player comes in, that's an unconscious choice. They don't. If they were looking at it consciously, they'd be like, "Oh wow, that looks amazing! I'm going to play this." But what's happening there is they're just getting in this game, and it's a checklist. Yes, this game is, you know, visually good enough for me to play. Yep. But for existing players, it's not like when you play Call of Duty and and like you have to be amazed by the graphics because it's one of those key things that draws you in.
Yep.
But at the same time, you are getting that sort of like unconscious like validation that playing it is okay.
Yeah.
But it's not one of the drawing factors. But for existing players, like even though it's not something it'll stand out and it'll change the whole game for you, it is that unconscious like immersion in the game. So as you're going around and you see in the new, like say in Mr. Pandaria, there'd be updated models on the monsters and things.
Yeah.
Which looks cool, but then you look down, at your character, you get a new piece of armor and you put it on your character, and then you look at their face.
Yeah, they're staring at you blankly.
If it looks different, you don't know it, but you are looking at a face that's different to the stuff that's on it, and it takes you out of the game a bit.
Yeah.
So I think unconsciously it's going to make people enjoy the game more, just because everything's involved
everything's in sync.
That state, yeah. So I think it's really going to help with that, and the other one is just that, like for loyal players as well, it's reinforcement to know that they are keeping the game up to date.
Yeah.
They're not letting these features slide.
Yeah.
And it's like a sign that is going to carry on.
Yeah.
And this actually was one of the player demanded features as well.
I bet it was. I bet it was a while ago as well.
Yeah, a lot of players have been asking for it for a long time, so they have actually responded in this case, which is a bit of an exception for them. So yeah, the main thing is just like it's letting new players play it, and it's reassuring the existing players, and also the immersion.
Yeah, definitely.
Factor of it. So I think they do matter.
Yeah, I can't wait to see them in game. It's going to be so good.
Yeah. I just don't, I don't know how much time, I think a lot of time has been spent on them, and I don't know if those factors are enough to justify the time that it's spent building them. I suppose it is, because the only other thing that the art team could be developing is, the monsters and and stuff like that.
In a new place. But seeing them, it really makes me want a gnome.
Oh yeah, the gnomes.
Because they have the most amazing facial expressions. Because to be honest, they've not really appealed to me. But just looking, watching the that trailer for Year Level 90, and just looking at the facial expressions at like BlizzCon and stuff, it really makes me want one.
That's actually another factor that I didn't think about. Do you know machinima? Do you know what that means?
Oh yes, isn't it in-game like footage?
Yes,
like
so
a trailer.
People making like their own videos out of the character models in game using special software, so they can like customize where the character is and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's a really good way to promote it on YouTube and things like that.
Yeah.
And so updating the character models is going to work really well for Blizzard in terms of promotion.
Yeah.
As well, just because there'll be a lot more content out there. It really annoys me at the moment with some of the machinima. A character will be talking, and they want the character to be like expressive whilst they're talking.
Yeah.
So
all they do is like put their arms up and down.
Yeah, they do these. Well, they do these weird emotions that are out of place, and they repeat them. Just let your character stand there. It'll look better than it like flailing its arms around while just having a normal conversation.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. So yeah, maybe it'll help with not making me annoyed.
But imagine what Leroy Jenkins would look like nowadays.
They could reinvent, do another Leroy Jenkins
clip. They
clip.
could redo it. It'd be completely different, and then you could compare them.
Indeed.
But yeah, I think it's really good. I'm looking forward to it.
Right. Well, that's all the topics. We were actually going to play this game at the start, but I completely forgot. So
were we at the start?
Yeah, but we've got a new game, and you're very excited about this, aren't you?
Yes, I'm quite nervous actually.
And it's inspired by a show done on BBC Radio 1 where who's the guy? Matt Edmondson. He says a word, and the person who's like, the
guest,
the quiz focus, has to say whether that word is a real word or a made up one. Yeah. So for example, in his game he says So you know that thing that you put your bags in the kitchen, holds all your carrier bags.
Oh, we've got one. Yeah, I've got one of them.
Yeah.
I've got one that's covered in cats.
Yes. Did you know the official word for that is a flume?
I don't believe that.
That's because it's not true.
Ah.
Yeah.
But it would make sense because it looks sort of like a log flume or a slide, and you just put because it's like cylinder. You just stuff bags in the bag, don't you?
I know.
So
yeah.
it would make
and it goes
sense.
flume as you put it in.
Yeah, it would make sense.
In
but
my mind, yeah.
No.
Right. So, and also that's usually the shape of a log flume. Like a big tube thing.
Yeah. So it would make sense.
Yes. Anyway, so
I got it
we've
right.
got our own WoW version. Yeah, but that doesn't count.
Oh no.
So I'm going to ask you 5 different things in WoW.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to give you the words of 5 different things, and it could be anything like character, item, place.
Okay.
And you have to say whether it's a real thing or not. And the game is called WoW Poo or Cow Poo.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So if it's WoW Poo, that means it's poo out of WoW.
Yeah.
I would call it the swear word, but child-friendly show. So WoW Poo.
Well, I think I said the real version a couple of times.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Well,
oops.
We'll just forget to edit that out.
Yeah. No,
so,
I like it.
WoW Poo or Cow Poo.
I am slightly nervous.
You've got 5. Yeah.
Because...
You've got 5 questions.
Okay.
Right. So, and you have to answer WoW Poo or Cow Poo. Obviously, Cow Poo being the not real.
If people haven't listened before, I am basically a bit of a retard when it comes to
No.
World of Warcraft. Because I've been playing for a couple of years, but I'm not hardcore or anything, so I don't really know anything.
And hence why this
Hence
will be...
What?
It's a education.
Yeah, this is more of an education, so I'm definitely going to embarrass myself.
And also to just laugh at the stupid person.
That's me, yeah.
You're not stupid, really. Okay.
We will see.
Are you ready? Are you ready for question 1?
Yes.
Okay, so... right, the first word is Mithrandir. Okay. So that is a dwarven city in the Arathi Highlands, and it's one of the zones that you would go to as you walk in.
Okay.
So, Mithrandir, WoW Poo or Cow Poo?
I recognise the word.
There you
I
go.
recognise it from your WoW lore.
Yeah,
I know it is a WoW word,
yeah.
but I don't know whether you're just trying to catch me out, and it's actually a person's name.
Right, I like your logic. Mithrandir,
Could you do
dwarven
that?
city.
Could you actually? Are you making it? Could you actually do that? Have it a WoW word, but the actual description of it is wrong.
No, if it's either from WoW or it's not.
In that case, it's WoW Poo.
WoW Poo?
Yeah.
Okay, would you like to know the answer?
Yes, please.
Mithrandir is another word for Gandalf.
Oh shit!
which is a popular character from Lord of the Rings.
Yes, because oh, what's her name? She calls him it.
Yeah, and see, it's a good game, isn't it?
That's really annoying.
Yeah.
I knew I'd heard of it before.
This is the name, like Gandalf, for some little Lord of the Rings like nerdy lore. He's actually from this other world. He's like sort of a god or angel, and that's what they call him there.
And he's actually a lot younger than he looks, isn't he?
Yeah,
you always wonder why he can run.
He's like an angel, and they put him in old man's body because then like he can't influence people too much. He can give advice, but he can't run things.
Yeah, he can't sexually influence people.
That could be another reason. Yeah, I don't know. I think Gandalf's pretty sexy.
Oh, I'm really annoyed. I should have known that.
Come on, that's only question 1.
Okay.
We got 0 out of 5 so far.
Okay.
Right. So next place is Menethil, which is the the harbour in the wetlands and it was destroyed during Cataclysm. Is that wow poo or cow poo?
See, I only joined when Cataclysm came out.
It's still there. It's just a bit wrecked.
Menethil.
So you can't use that as an excuse. Menethil.
Sounds like some sort of drug.
Menethil.
Doesn't
yeah,
it?
does. Oh, I could do it with a
I
menethil.
could do with some menethil, me. Again, that sounds like Lord of the Rings now. Now
It
that
does.
you've put that
now
first
that I've
question.
said Lord of the Rings.
Menethil. It definitely sounds like Lord... Now you've put that in my head.
I know.
It sounds like one of the kings out of Lord of the Rings.
So what's your logic here? Is it... It's like...
A harbour.
Menethil. It's a harbour in the wetlands destroyed. Well, wrecked during Cataclysm.
Well, I'm just trying to think, is it like a made-up language, or is it supposed to be some sort of...
Related to something. Yeah, I think
Related.
they have said in WoW sometimes that like things have, you know, like that Arthur's song, that has a translation.
It
so.
does, yeah, and it's just like a random language, isn't it? Because if it's going to be a harbour, it'd have to have some sort of like, obviously harbourish name.
Like Seathil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Lethril from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But you'd expect it to be a name that's something to do with water, or some sort of translation that's something to do with ships.
Hydrophil.
Yeah. Hydro.
Yeah.
Menethil. Oh.
What are you saying? Wow poo or cow poo?
I want to say cow poo, but I know when I say it, you're going to say it's wow poo.
Well, let me know.
Oh, I'm going to say
What are you
cow
gonna say?
poo.
Final answer. Cow poo. That is wow poo.
No! I knew
Menethil
that was
is
going
the
to
harbour in
happen.
wetlands.
How? Why?
It just is. It's a place
It just
in WoW,
is.
and you're probably right about Lord of the Rings. It's probably in Lord of the Rings as well, maybe. It does sound very Lord of the Ringsy.
It sounds so much like Gandalf's name.
Yeah.
What was it?
This game should be called Lord of the Rings or World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Really, but yeah. Right. Next one. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Mithrandir was the last one.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nilfaleth is the Blue Dragonflight leader, or was before Malagos. He was the original Blue Dragon that was forged, who was made by the Titans.
What was his name again, sorry?
Nilfaleth.
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 Yes. Wow poo or cow poo?
That's a weird name. I don't
It
like
is.
that name.
No. Why?
Nilfaleth.
Yeah,
Just sounds pretty
Nilfaleth.
wimpy.
it does.
Do you
Yeah.
not think?
Well, I mean, he must have died to let Malagos take over, so he must have been a bit of a wimp to let someone else take the reins.
Nilfaleth.
Come on.
No, that's a
What are you
wimpy
saying?
name. I
Wimpy.
just think because mill sounds like nil, and fal sounds like fail, and leth is just
There's your logic.
leth.
Okay.
So that's
Right.
my logic. So I'm gonna say cow poo.
Cow poo. Okay. Well, I can reveal that it is cow poo.
Yes!
So you've got your first point.
Woohoo!
Well done. It was actually.
I'm
he's
actually really proud.
He's actually an elf of Lothlorien from Lord of the Rings: Two Towers in the film, not the book.
Oh my god, are these
And-
actually just Lord of the Rings questions?
Yes, yeah. And he fought in Helm's Deep.
Oh, did he?
Okay.
Did he die?
Yes.
Was he a wimp?
Yes. Yeah. 'cause
Yeah,
I think
'cause it's a wimpy
it
name.
sort of implied that all the elves died. Yeah, and he looked pretty girly. So you're right about
yeah.
that. Yeah. Right. Next one, we're going dragons again.
Okay.
Nosdormu. He is the leader of the. He's the current leader of the Bronze Dragonflight, and
Oh, I don't know anything about
He-
bronze dragonflight.
yes, he was the one. I thought they were called the Ambers. I don't know, but
Oh, I thought they were amber.
yeah, he was the leader that focused, and he was focused heavily in Cataclysm, where they had to go back in time because he was being imprisoned by the bronze, the some other dragonfly.
What was his name again?
Nozdormu.
That's a stupid
Wowpoo.
name too.
Or Cowpoo.
What was it? Nozdormu.
Nozdormu.
Why would you call a dragon that? Nos
Nozdormu.
for your nose, door for a door, and moo for a cow.
Every time someone wanted to slap him, someone would be able to say the line, "Hit the nos." As in Fast and the Furious. So I think there's the logic.
Hit the nos.
And
like,
then someone would whack him
slam
on the ass
the door
and he'd go,
shout,
that's the
"Moo!"
third time today, please stop it.
No, the name's too random. Nos,
Too random?
door, and moo
Yeah.
for a cow.
Yeah.
No, it's Cowpoo.
No. That one is Wowpoo. He's the
No.
real leader.
Who
of
made
the
that
bronze
name?
Dragonfly.
That is ridiculous.
Okay, so you got 1 point, so going strong. And
I want to
you
know
could
who
have
made that
two.
name up. That's
Could
ridiculous.
have 2. You're competing against yourself, so it's.
Okay.
I think you're probably doing this on purpose. So next.
Oh God, no! Don't put that pressure on me.
So next week, like no, you're only getting 2. So next week you can get, set it low.
Okay.
Right. So next one, right. There is a character in WoW.
Yeah.
Only first name because he's just an ordinary quest giver called Tidus.
Okay.
And I remember him from back in. Found it online because I was just searching random WoW characters.
Mm-hmm.
But he was the original quest giver who gave. They used to have back then. They had attunement quests where you would get. Like you'd have to do a quest line before you could actually get into the raid.
Okay.
And so he gave a quest line where I don't know what it was called, but it involved you had to collect balls for him. So he could
juggle.
I don't remember. It was like, but he had to beat some team in Blitzball. It was one of those stupid
Blitzball.
quests.
That sounds like a cool game.
They called it Blitz, and that was the achievement for the world boss called Sin.
And his name was.
Tidus.
See, Tidus. Now that's a cool name.
Yeah.
Why would you give that to a quest giver?
But even though it was a cool name, it was just a gnome. So I think it was supposed to be like a joke.
I was gonna say that's.
Yeah.
No, Tidus just sounds like really mighty, really strong, tall.
Yeah.
Tidus is just like a god's name.
Mm.
Definitely not a quest giver who's asking for some balls.
Okay.
So
Is that your final answer?
I'm gonna say Cowpoo.
Cowpoo is correct.
Yes.
Yes, that one was a bit far-fetched. Tidus is actually the main character from Final Fantasy X, who plays Blitzball himself, which was like the main sport they had in that world, and the boss of the game was called Sin.
Oh, so it wasn't
just-
anything to do with WoW at all? Blitzball or anything?
I just invented a whole scenario.
No way.
Yeah.
So that just
But
proves
it
how
involved
gullible
all
I
those
am.
things.
I didn't even question that.
Yeah.
I was
So
just
you got-
focusing on the name.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'll invent a whole story around him.
Oh, yes, please.
So that's 2. So 2 to beat next week.
Oh, is that all 5?
That's all 5.
Can we not just play this all day?
The game's done. No. But don't worry, stay tuned for next week.
Oh, I really
Because-
like that game. That's really
Yeah.
good.
Right, so that's the end of the show. Let's mention the usual stuff. You've got to follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
Join up to Facebook because nobody's on there at the moment. Yeah, we're on Twitter all the time. Subscribe on YouTube because then it'll come up in your little feed if we've released something new.
Yeah.
But the main way we do all our communications through Twitter, so that's the main one to look at.
And we've also got our own website. You can access that through Twitter and YouTube as well. And also Facebook. And just message us if you want to suggest anything or if you want to have a chat. We'll get back to you straight away.
the website's good because it's in a better sort of
layout
structure.
Yeah.
Easier to find what you want there. So yes, and that is all from us this week. So let's say an awkward goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.